Ahoy mates, Captain Marrow here, and today I'm here on the Luna with John Collamore. The Luna is a Bermuda sloop, well, I guess
It's a coastal trading sloop.
coastal trading sloop. Technically Virginia sloop if it's finished here in Virginia.
Yes.
Alright, well, either way, today I have him here for an interview to tell you all about the Luna here. I got a roster of questions here. So, first off, how long have you been working on the Luna?
We've been working on the Luna project for coming up on 14 years now. So it's a little bit of a lengthy process building a tall ship with all volunteers. But on the back side of that, we're going to be one of the only tall ships to launch operating in the black. In other words, we're not going to have a deficit when we launch. We won't owe anybody anything on this vessel.
Impressive.
It's really impressive in the tall ship community.
Do tall ships normally go over that budget? How many sail out in the red? Is that
A lot. I don't have a statistic, but a lot of the tall ships that have been launched in recent time have launched out with a deficit, or they operate in the red, and funding is a constant concern for tall ships. So we're very excited to be operating in the black.
once the Luna is completed and once it's in the water, where exactly will she be going and doing, for that matter?
That is an excellent question, and this is going to be a little bit of a lengthy response. We anticipate on launching at the tail end of this summer, doing our sea trials and our technical launch, which is where we get the boat in the water, and we work on our systems. We complete the hull, get the rig hooked up, get our sails on board, and start loading all of our final equipment on board. From there, we'll be operating in the mid-Atlantic, essentially between Charleston and Philadelphia, in inland bays and sounds, which will be consistent with our Coast Guard certification process, as opposed to being an ocean-going vessel. So we'll be staying primarily in the narrow waterways such as the Chesapeake Bay. Our float plan is pretty aggressive for a tall ship program. We've got our youth programming, our education programs, our dockside visiting, as well as historic ports of call. In this area, there would be, in the Chesapeake Bay region, there would be places such as Cape Charles or Yorktown or Norfolk or Hampton or Urbana, reaching all the way up to Annapolis or Baltimore. We'll also be reintroducing sail cargo delivery to the region, working with international partners on taller ships, shipping non-perishable goods around the Chesapeake Bay region.
Okay. And there's going to be like a whole educational thing with children?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Tall ships, sailboats in general, are wonderful education opportunities. If we think about the education process of STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, a sailboat covers every aspect of that. We have the science of aerodynamics, hydrodynamics, we have the technology of simple machines, we have our education programming, and our simple machines and mathematics that are all incorporated into the STEM programming.
Okay. And before we move on to the next question, can you tell me anything about this picture here?
Absolutely. This is Luna. This is a artist rendering, and if you were a resident of this region in the colonial era, from the 1700s well into the 1800s, you would recognize this as a coastal sloop. Specifically, it's a trading sloop. So this was the 18-wheeler of the day, moving up and down the coast. If you lived in this region, you would know what this boat was. The trading sloops are very characteristic from their single mast. The rake of the mast that comes back on Luna is particularly 16 degrees. We've got a large main boom that comes over the aft side of the boat, the aft end of the boat rather. The mainsail, we carry 3 jibs as well as a squaresail up on the top of the rigging.
Okay. And so this is based on a Bermuda sloop, and
It is.
what's the big difference between a Bermuda sloop and anything else different?
Bermuda sloop is different
I
from
guess it's completed in Bermuda.
It's completed
typically.
in Bermuda. It's made of Bermuda cedars, and it has to do with the shape of the cabin in the back. Depending on the region, we had Jamaica sloops, Bermuda sloops, and Virginia sloops.
Okay.
And each one had its own very distinct characteristic as far as construction and regional identity. So if you were in Jamaica and built a sloop, I could be in Virginia and build a sloop. We would have the same general concept. However, it would be slightly different based on the materials that we had and our experiences in those weather patterns that would change our hull design or our rig just a little bit. The average person on land isn't going to recognize these changes.
The differences.
But you and I, as mariners from those regions, would recognize them pretty quick.
Okay, fair enough.
Going to be really exciting to handle this boat. Right now, there are 3 sloops that have been operating on the East Coast. We're going to be the 4th one. So you're not going to be seeing a whole lot of these around, but as far as historical vessels, these fill a huge gap in time, in that we go from square rig ships such as the Godspeed or the Susan Constance or the Discovery down in Jamestown to clipper ship that you might see moving cargo in and out of Baltimore 150 years later.
Okay.
This is the vessel that makes that transition between those 2 types of ships.
Good. What exactly is it about a Bermuda sloop which would make it appealing as a target to pirates during the Golden Age of piracy?
Well, let's take that back to sloops in general. Sloops are fast. Again, we're going back to the hull design where shallow draft. It's a longer keel underneath the boat, and the sail design is changing from the square rigger, which has to go with the wind or pretty close to being with the wind, to being able to sail almost directly into the wind with the development of the jibs and the larger main in the back. We keep the square sail for running downwind and just off the wind for that driving force.
Okay.
So shallow draft, very nimble, very agile boats, and they hold a lot of cargo for their size vessel. So that's what makes it appealing.
Right.
Then through history, we can think about famous sloops. Well, let's see. You being a pirate, can we think of a famous ship that would have been used by a pirate that was actually a sloop?
Well, of course, there's the Adventure.
The Adventure, absolutely. Blackbeard's Last Command.
Steve Bond also had the Revenge.
Yep, absolutely. They were both extremely fast sloops. And if we go forward to, in history, to the Revolutionary War and the War of 1812, we've got locally here in the Chesapeake Bay, specifically on the Rappahannock River, close to where we are, we have the sloop Defiance that was built in Fredericksburg, and that was used to defend the coastline on the Rappahannock River and the Gwens Island area. So we've got some pretty significant local sloops, and pretty good examples of why they were so important.
Okay. When do you suspect that the Luna may first be put into water? Any specific date that you're shooting for?
We're not shooting for a specific date. We're working on towards the latter end of the summer, which would be the tail end of the summer of 2021. We've got 2 events this fall that would mean a lot to us if we got Luna in the water and got to those events. One of them is a local boat race called the Turkey Shoot Regatta. That is a hospice fundraising event that we would love to be able to get Luna to this year.
Where is that?
That's here on the Rappahannock River, just at the Coratoman River. That's a local fundraising for the local hospice unit at the area hospital.
Very cool.
Then we've got the Urbana Oyster Festival, which is kind of our big signature event in this region for tourism, and we would love to be able to get Luna to that event for this year.
Okay, so with any luck, that's going to be her big debut, or those 2 events.
Yep, absolutely.
And then the 2022 dates that you mentioned, that is after you work out all the kinks with the ship, and then maybe the following year, 2022, maybe she'll be around in other waters?
Absolutely. The plan is to keep her in the Mid-Atlantic region that we had talked about earlier, but going to maritime events, tall ship festivals, community events, as well as regional farmers markets and historic ports of call up and down the East Coast.
Okay.
So she will be in a port near you.
Hopefully.
Absolutely.
hopefully we'll see you down in Charleston at some point.
Oh, that may be possible. Absolutely.
What is your favorite part or piece of the Luna? If you had to select just one component of the ship.
Oh, you know what? As odd as that sounds, it would have to be our volunteers.
Okay.
I
mean, I guess that's
That's
not doable without them.
Exactly.
They're pretty vital.
We're a volunteer organization. We have got some of the most amazing educators and ship's construction crew. It's a very dedicated group on both sides of that. It's a wonderful, wonderful group of people to work with.
Right.
So, and our volunteers make this all happen. If anyone's interested in becoming a volunteer on Luna, certainly be sure to get a hold of us through our social media or our website at www.colonialseaport.org. We're also pretty active on Facebook under Colonial Seaport. We also have some videos up on YouTube, but we don't actively work on that. Unfortunately, we're in the 18th century and social media kind of skipped us by on that a little bit. We're not exactly tech savvy, but we do work off of Facebook pretty well.
On the flip side, you're boat savvy.
Yes,
boat savvy.
Extremely boat savvy. At least we like to think so far, and so far the Coast Guard has agreed with us.
With that, is there anything else any viewers should know about Luna that hasn't really been covered here?
Captain Mero, I appreciate your time coming on board and sharing with your audience Luna and our exciting program. Again, volunteers are always welcome, and we post on social media on Facebook pretty regularly. We try to get that up every Sunday evening.
Yeah, I'll
I'll
definitely have you guys linked with all this.
Yeah, appreciate that, as well as our website that we talked about earlier. Reach out to us, and if you're interested to learn more, drop us a line.
Okay. And I appreciate you having me on board. I'm super glad I was able to make my way all the way up here to Virginia. First time I've ever been to Virginia in my life. So it's super cool to come up here and to have seen the history stuff I have on the trip, and the Luna is definitely a stop I didn't want to miss.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you. All right. I guess that's it here for the Luna. John Collamore, Colonial Seaport Foundation. Check down below, links and all that stuff. All right. Have a good one.